All right. Good evening and welcome to the Black Multiverse Theory Podcast.
We did it. Welcome to the Black Multiverse Theory Podcast, where your hosts, Nigel and Nilo, explore current events through an Afro-Canadian lens. In shout-outs, we catch up with the community, creating a space for connection. The Scroll dives into social media, current events, and celebrity news. Always actual, not always factual. On the screen, we share our latest watch list, while in our ears explores the sounds shaping our world. We culminate with an uplifting message, hoping to leave you empowered. Tune in. Thanks for tuning in for insightful analysis and a vibrant perspective on the Black experience in today's world.
Fantastic.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Well, we have come to the part of the show. We call that the shout outs, where we kind of shout out people in our community and in our lives. And so we want to send special shout outs tonight to the Steel Heights Tigers, who came in and did their thing. Nice. We definitely got them ready and prepped for their game that's coming up. I did not make it to the U15 game. Unfortunately, that was a little bit of a loss, and they were a little bit disappointed by it.
Does happen.
And then we had a game, and we pulled off a win just recently with our last game with the U13s. So I asked my son, Nashan, I said, what happened in the game? Because I wasn't there. And I wasn't there for practice. And he was like, the problem is the coaches. They didn't show up. So they couldn't help us with the problems. And so we're there. So I said, I hear you. Thank you for the feedback. And I will be there for the next practice. And we will work on the things. I said, is there anything you guys could have done better? He's like, nope. So, problem
He
is,
called you out.
And he did it so softly, like it wasn't no malice behind it or anything. He was just like,
what the real problem is?
His personal opinion, it was the coaches. Shout out to my mom, Mama Zita, who is on right now. Shout out to her. She's always very supportive of the Black Multiverse and us as hosts. So definitely shout out to her. And last but not least, shout out to my friends and family. And you know who you are if you're my friends and you're watching this. If you're not my friends and you're watching this,
it's very strange.
You're still watching.
You could be my friend.
Yeah, but if you're not my friend and you're watching this, you're still here watching. So shout out to you too.
Shout out to y'all.
Shout out to the watchers.
Okay.
To the viewers. That's a better.
Yeah, the watchers sounds like you're saying something, and I'm not sure what you're saying.
Shout out to the people.
I have to give a big shout out to my Uncle Mario, my cousin Renata, and my Auntie June. They're dealing with the loss of a matriarch, Auntie June's mama. So, and Uncle Jerome, I send my heart out to all of you who, with that tough loss. And she was well in her 90s. So one thing is great that she's not suffering, and she lived a long, full life. So my Auntie June is, obviously very sad, but happy that her mom got to live a nice, long life as well. So
wonderful.
Yeah. So, yes, my heart goes out. I wish I could be there. The funeral's happening very quickly, so I am not gonna unfortunately get the opportunity to go out there.
Mm.
Big shout outs to everybody who reached out for me for my birthday. There was some confusion in the world about when the actual date was. I'm not going to clear that up. I'm just going to leave it out there. I'm just going to leave the confusion in the streets. I think probably when I like turn 50, I'm going to stop celebrating altogether. But super duper thank you to everybody who took the time to reach out and who said happy birthday and did all of the things, sent me love, thought about me, prayed for me, gave me a little $50, gave me a little dollars here and there. Definitely so much appreciated. I had the day that I needed, I think. So I was disconnected. I was with my dog and I was outside pretty much for most of the day. Thank you, Mama Zita. Sent her condolences. Yeah, so a big shout out to all those folks. I guess we're gonna get into that too. Big shout out to Mouraine. We're gonna talk about the show during the show, and I think that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll move to the next portion of the show. This portion of the show is called The Scroll. And the scroll is where we talk about things that happen in our city and things around our city and things around the world concerning our communities. First we like to start with local scroll, but sometimes we flip depending on how things go in the world and how popular it is. So we got a few things. What do we got up first?
What is our premier's name there? Danielle Smith.
Danielle Smith, yes.
Yeah, it turns out that lady wants to bring Elon Musk to Alberta. And when I say Elon Musk, I don't mean the person. I mean Starlink. She wants to make sure rural Albertans have
access to Starlink.
Access to the internet. It's pretty fast. I've actually been on some farms. I'm curious as to like, what does that mean? Because I think I connected to Starlink like last year on somebody's farm. Like, what is bringing? What does that mean? But it does say that she is looking to try to skirt some government censorship issues with the internet. So,
yeah, the thing about being out in what we call rural areas, farms and different places, the further you go, like last year I was all out in farmland, and sometimes you're not getting signal because you just don't have towers close enough together. I remember one time I got lost for hours in the dark in the winter time,
and your phone couldn't even help you,
and my phone was like, "Boops, I'm out. I can't help you." So something like Starlink,
your phone's like, "Go I eat."
It's so sorry. It was like, "I'm so sorry, I can't help you." And you put in Google Maps to try and find the place, and it was like, "Yeah, you're here." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. There's nothing around here." And so it can be a problem. It could be very dangerous. There are wolves and different livestock animals that roam at nighttime and hunt at nighttime. So you don't want to be outside of your car for too long. So something like Starlink can be great.
Beneficial, yeah.
Yeah. So
they say absolute power corrupts absolutely, and that's usually how I feel like Elon Musk. Like every time he has an idea, I'm like, it's a good idea, but I can't trust you with anything. I feel like I can't trust you with my cat, and I don't even have a cat, bro.
I feel like with Elon Musk, it is one of those things. Technology, I feel, I don't know if he has it under control. And what got me is when he was sending rockets to outer space, he's like, "Let me tell you something. We're going to use like this new fuel. We're going to use hydro fuel or hydrogen gas."
He's a grifter.
And he's like, we're going to use hydrogen gas. So when you get to the first stage of it, it's going to be regular gas. And then you go to the second stage, it's going to be this hydrogen gas. And he's like, yeah. And so by using hydrogen gas, we save the environment. And then
Hydrogen bomb.
and the reporter was like, why didn't you just use hydrogen gas the whole way through?
Why would you do
And his head nearly exploded. He was like, I'll be right back. And he ran off from the guy.
My goodness.
Yeah. Next time we saw him, the entire rocket was hydrogen gas.
I don't believe that man at all. I don't believe anything he says. I don't like him. So that's why I feel like, yes, it would be super beneficial. But also, something about Elon. I just feel like.
You're uneasy.
I don't like. Absolute power crops. Absolutely. I'll leave it with that. I'm uneasy. Today there was a car going across the Rainbow Bridge.
Yeah.
Or the Peace Bridge. Over there in, where would you call that area? I guess the border between Canada and America. Between New York and Ontario. And allegedly the car was like speeding super fast, somehow took to the air because it was going so quickly, launched through the air and crashed into a building. We have a photo for you. Actually, I do have to say a trigger warning on this whole episode because it's going to get yucky.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this would be it. Yeah, look at that. So all day people were trying to figure out if it was terrorism or not terrorism. There's a lot of people who posted this photo. I was like, it doesn't look like that happened. It looks like more than that happened, perhaps. Yeah, this photo comes to us from the New York Post. And that
I'm sorry, that photo looks like a picture from The Matrix. The very first Matrix, Trinity flies off the top of a building on a motorcycle and literally lands right there, right here in the movie. It's almost identical, except it's daytime.
Well,
That's amazing.
Unfortunately, 2 people have perished in the crash.
R.I.P.
Most of the day, the news, the internets were like, they thought maybe it was terrorism.
Interesting.
Yeah. So even though they have confirmed that it is not terrorism, who's they? Sorry.
Okay.
That's what the people are saying, that it's terrorism, but they're not telling us it's terrorism.
All right.
And I have to give a shout out to Akram for putting that on my radar. He actually specifically asked for the shout out as well.
Okay. Shout out to Akram.
Yep. What do you think about this? You have no thoughts except that it looks like the Matrix?
I just told you my thoughts on it. It looks very interesting. The picture in itself just looks like debris.
Yeah.
And from what I'm looking, it's a small picture, but it just looks like debris.
Yeah.
So the explosion, I mean, how fast was it going? Can a car make that much damage on its own?
Yeah. So when I heard about it, I heard car bomb. And then when I went to the news, they were like, okay, not car bomb, but like the car acted like a bomb because it was doing the bomb things.
Yeah, it's weird because explosions happen with the right amount of accelerant, the right amount of oxygen, the right amount of fire, ignition source. So if you're driving, the gas tank is usually close to the bottom, and then the part where you fill is close to the back. So for you to crash, it depends on your speed, how you're going, how much friction.
It sounds like this is a physics problem.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the people on the internet are like, nah. But it's clearly. Next we've got Mouraine, which I do have another tiny video for this.
Okay.
Here was, I don't know if you guys can hear it actually, but this was Mouraine's show. Yeah. I think the sound was not working. But in any case, my point is the guy definitely has energy. He brought energy there. It was a great show. I realize I have heard this album live before. And it's a great album to perform. I always have show notes. Here are my show notes. I listened to the album after I watched him on stage. I've seen him perform the album a couple times, I think, right? Because some of those songs I've heard already. But I feel like when he's in the booth, he needs to be like jumping off things and sweating in the booth. Because he does it so well and his breath control is so good and it hypes up. But then when you listen to the album after, the energy on the album is like not the same as the live energy, which is obvious. But I feel like, remember like how Onyx was able to like get that liveness across, like Annie Up. Like you could be listening to Onyx and it just sounds like total chaos and all these, you know what I mean?
I don't remember hearing Mouraine's album, but to comment on Onyx there, Onyx had more than one person in the booth. So the people are hyping them up. They're like,
Yeah, that's the thing. You're not wrong.
And so the energy is the energy. And then when they get on stage, they gotta bring that energy every single time. That's true. But Mouraine is what I didn't like, and since you have show notes, I have a couple things I wanted to talk about the show too. I also went to the show, and one of the perks about doing trivia night on Tuesday nights at 7:00 at the Starlight River City Revival House downstairs, the Starlight Room.
It was a plug. I wanted to make sure the people knew.
Upstairs is the Starlight Room. Downstairs is River City Revival House. So one of the perks about there is, I got friends and they let me into different shows. And I say that very lightly because I do not use that clout very often at all. I think this is the first time I might have used it. But anyways, I went there and I could not hear the background singers at all. They have background singers,
you're right,
to emphasize that it's important, because background singers do a couple things. They emphasize choruses and lines within the song.
So you can hear it.
Number one. Number two, they give the lead rapper or singer a break.
Yeah.
And number three, they accentuate the harmonies and the crescendos and the hypeness of the song. So if we can't hear them, sound engineer who was there on the night, it's going to be a problem.
Are you calling out somebody secretly?
Secretly, yeah. Okay. I'm always going to call out. I'm there at the front and I'm hearing Mouraine a little bit because I'm not next to, I'm like beside the speakers. I got coerced into working the merch table while he was there. So while I was over on the side, I couldn't hear those ladies at all that were there. And the musicians were tight. Shout out to O'Shane. Shout out to the rest of the crew, Jonathan, the guitarist and synthesizer guy, and I can't remember the other guy who was on stage. The guitarist, my Asian friend who's fantastic.
Yeah. So, shout out to the DJ too.
And the DJ. So they were on stage and they just didn't. The sound engineer didn't do it. Mouraine, like 4 or 5 times,
asked him to turn them out in his ears.
Yeah, and looked up at the speakers like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
So that's bad sound engineering. You just have to tweak those things, buddy, if you're hearing me. Shout out to Colin, Simone, Shamika Brown, and Tanya, who were watching before. So shout out to them.
Big shout outs.
Big shout outs.
Tanya's birthday just passed. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Tanya.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to talk about Diddy and Cassie now for a couple minutes. This is time. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you're rewatching it. This is a time for you. If you're triggered by domestic violence, this is a good time to log off. If you're listening to this live, this is a good time to log off. If you have kids on, we'll do our best to discuss it in a way that's not too damaging to the children, but it is not child content, it's adult content. So now is the time to maybe pause it and come back later.
Yeah. And for those of you who are watching it after the fact, just fast forward.
Yeah, you can fast forward past this.
You can just fast forward past
if you're listening to this and not watching it at all, also you can fast forward.
Yeah. You don't have to log off. In fact, I do not encourage you to log off. Just fast forward. We have the technology. Go ahead.
So we found out, quick to open, grand opening, grand closing, pretty much, that Cassandra Ventura, Diddy's ex, Puff Daddy's ex, had filed a lawsuit last week. I believe it was November 15th, and I think that lawsuit was filed on the anniversary of Kim Porter's passing as well. So she filed this lawsuit, and the lawsuit was for sexual abuse. It was also for trafficking. It was also for coercion and a lot of other things. So I did my due diligence, you guys, and I read the entire 35 pages of this it was a civil lawsuit. And so the difference between civil and criminal is that criminal is literally like the government. Civil is usually when somebody's being sued for something. There's a financial payoff. So there's a lot of different things that might be allowed in criminal court, not allowed, or allowed in civil court that's not allowed in criminal court, things that the jury might take into consideration. Other thing is that they asked for a jury trial, not a judge trial. So if this suit had gone to trial, it would have gone to trial in front of 12 people, right? It wasn't just one where the judge would have figured out what it was. And the other thing is that criminal trials, listen to me sounding like a lawyer. My mom's like, she's from wherever she is. She's like, I told you should have been a lawyer right now as I'm speaking. But the criminal trial, criminality has what's called statute of limitations on it. So depending on what it is, some of them don't, but many of them do. And so the statute runs out after a certain amount of time. It just gets tossed out and it goes away somehow. Anyway, you can't get criminal charges can't be brought to you for something after a certain amount of time, depending on what the thing is. So Cassie had actually already passed this statute of limitations, so she was not in a position where she could actually file criminal charges, and that is why New York also passed a law recently that allows victims of assault, specifically victims of sexual assault, to file a civil suit when that statute has run out. So Cassie went ahead and did that. She filed a civil suit. I do not think that when she filed that civil suit, that was the first time that Diddy heard about it. I have a sneaking suspicion that they were already in conversation in the back end, and the things didn't work out, because one of the first things Diddy said was that he was being, what's that word? Extorted for $30 million.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's the first thing that he said, is that she was trying to extort him for $30 million. The lawsuit itself, we'll go through the most egregious things. So number one, it says that Cassie started with Diddy. I thought Diddy made that song, the song that we know Cassie for. And the song we know Cassie for is Got a Long Way to Go. That one. Okay, yeah. But do you know who it was? Who? Your friend, Ryan Leslie.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So Ryan Leslie and Cassie. I knew he worked with her in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Came out with the album in the beginning. Then Diddy came along and signed Cassie. So first when he signs Cassie, one day he picks her up and he's like, here, have this pill, take it or whatever. She takes it. She finds out later it's ecstasy. He's inebriated or whatever. He's driving super fast on the highway. She's she wants to go home. He takes her home. He texts her for the rest of the night about how she owes him. She owes him. She owes him. Now, mind you, this is her employer. So let's start there, because at the beginning point, that's who he is to her. Then at some point, Diddy pays money and gets a promoter in Miami to make a fake flyer that has Cassie hosting an event that she wasn't even hosting. So when he does that, flies her out to Miami. Cassie at this point realizes that she's not hosting the thing or whatever. And at this point, he's offering her copious amounts of drugs. This is the first time that she has intercourse with him at this time. Now, I also have to say that Cassie's like, I think 21 at this point, and P. Diddy's like 39, right? So he's well-aged man. So this goes on for a little while. She outlines times where he kicked her, he beat her. She outlines times where he beat her so badly that he flew her out of the country, so that nobody could see her face or see her injuries.
Yeah. Wow.
She also says that everybody in his circle, everybody around him, was obviously complicit in the abuse. There was times that because of the copious amounts of drugs that she was taking and essentially being fed, that she started having memory loss. And when she went to get an MRI, the MRI doctor sent the results directly to Diddy, directly to his email, essentially, like not to her at all.
That's wild.
She said every time she tried to leave him, he was like constantly like would have all these people calling her and being like, you need to call so and so, like you need to give him a call, you need to call Mr. Combs, yada da. So she couldn't, and it was like the lawyers, it was people that she didn't expect to be literally coming into the situation. So she was unable. There was a time where she was dating Kid Cudi in like 2012. Apparently they were in a split, and Diddy found out about this, and he said that he was going to explode this guy's car and make sure he was home to witness it. And then a couple weeks later, Kid Cudi's car exploded.
Wow.
And so Cudi came out and said, yeah, that's true. And there's a lot of people. Aubrey O'Day came out and said that that's true. Somebody named Cindy Puella, who not too long ago, maybe like a couple years ago, had sued Diddy, remember, his personal chef. So she came out and talked about it. Gina Hayon, who was his ex-girlfriend who he dated, kind of overlapping with Cassie, I guess. She talked about him kicking her in the stomach, punching her in the stomach, kicking her in the face, punching her in the face. Yeah, so wow. Apparently the guy's an absolute menace to everybody. And yeah, as soon as the lawsuit opened, the very next day, like less than 24 hours later, Diddy and his team went ahead and settled. I think they wanted to do that before they got into the part where they call discovery, which is where the evidence has to get submitted to the court.
Wow.
Yeah. More evidence, I guess.
It's funny that it was done as a lawsuit and not like charges. Why was that? Why did that happen?
Because the statute of limitations had run out, so she couldn't have brought criminal charges because it's like time's up.
The time went up?
Yeah, time's up.
It kind of reminds me of when, like if you get an accident or whatever, you got a certain amount of time before you can like claim it or even file a report on it.
Same idea. That's also what happened with our guy, Bill Clinton, over there. Wow. Not Bill Clinton, the other Bill.
Cosby.
Wow. Sorry I hit this thing, you guys. Our thing will come back on in 1 second if you are watching.
If you see the black portion, you know that
we're here.
This is the part that you stop fast forwarding.
It's actually true.
You could just start right here.
Yeah, restart. Go to the black part and restart.
Go to the black part of the Black Multiverse Theory podcast, and we are here.
So that's what I had about that. This guy's an absolute
menace
to the people.
Society.
Somebody came out and said that Wale is the. Apparently, Cassie said that she was working with somebody in the studio, and Diddy came in the studio and hung them over the balcony. And somebody else came out and said that was Wale, and Wale came out and was like, "It absolutely was not me."
He said no. It was somebody was like, "It was Wale," and he was like, "No, it wasn't."
No, he said journalism has gone far, and it couldn't be further from the truth. He said, poor guy. That's it. Yeah, Kid Cudi. I remember Diddy once got in a fight with what's that guy's name? J. Cole over Kendrick Lamar.
Over Kendrick Lamar?
Yeah, like Diddy did or said something to Kendrick, and J. Cole kind of came to his aid
to defend him.
And they said nobody's caught J. Cole in a car since. So that they had all these pictures of him on bike.
A bicycle, yeah, he's been a bicycle the whole time. Walking, I've seen him walking.
The man is on foot.
He's on foot. He's like,
nope, you're not gonna. Nope.
What argument?
No brakes cut out. No heart attacks. No nothing.
None of that stuff. You're gonna have to catch me first.
Yeah, man. So everybody's digging up the thing. Everybody's looking for Wendy Williams. Everybody's looking for Orlando Brown. Jaguar Wright. A lot of these people who are out here having interviews with Vlad talking about Diddy. So that's horrible. I have a feeling this is the unraveling of Diddy. If you remember, and dang it was on that radio station. Unfortunately, we weren't on podcast at the time. But at the time, we were talking about the Love album. Do you remember this?
No.
We were talking about Diddy's most recent album, the Love album. Recent album. And I said...
something's about to come out.
I said it's a scandal.
It's such a good album.
So good. It's trying to make us forget something.
It's a R. Kelly
Step in the
play.
Name of Love. Yeah. So that was my call. I don't know if he knew then that this stuff was coming down the pipeline, but
wild.
Yes, it is wild.
Knowing Diddy probably did have a inkling of a thought.
Probably. I mean, lawyer things go back and forth long before it ever lands in the shade room or whatever.
Yeah.
Speaking of sexual harassment, coming out literally today, maybe 30 minutes before we went on, Jamie Foxx has just recently, somebody is suing him for sexual assaults. I believe it's also out of New York. They said that he came into the club. He told her she was so beautiful, and they all took pictures together, and at some point he put his hand in her shirt and grabbed her boob and put his hand down her pants as well. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah. By the way, all the stuff was unwanted. She did not want him to do all the stuff that he did, that she's alleging.
Allegedly. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. I feel like it's not big enough to wash away. Like, I feel like the Diddy thing will just wash it away. Like, I think the Diddy focus is going to happen for a little while because it's been a long time coming.
Jamie just did a movie just recently, and that was a movie that I just watched about a lawyer who came to the aid of somebody, which was a true story, actually, based on true events. And he just had a wild coma problem that happened. When he came out of the coma, he had a different complexion and a different look, a different hairline.
I was going to say, like, which Jamie punishes for this? Is it
pre Jamie or light skinned Jamie?
Or clone Jamie?
Which bleached out Jamie or dark skinned Jamie?
And to Jamie's point, like, he did say he's not cloned, but that's exactly what a cloned person would say. If they didn't want you to know they were cloned.
Would they?
Yeah, they would say if they didn't want you, yeah, for sure.
If I was cloned, I'd be like, definitely I'm cloned. And then I'd laugh so hard that people would be like, this guy's a joker. And then you'd never know that I was cloned.
Let's move on to what you're watching. Are you ready to move on to on the screen?
Absolutely.
What you watching?
I have watched so many different things. It's very hard to put it down, but I just wrapped up Scott Pilgrim's new edition. So if you're a fan of Scott Pilgrim is a comic. Michael Cera did the live action just recently. That's when I found out about Scott Pilgrim, and I was like, this is hilarious. So recently they just did a cartoon anime version of Scott Pilgrim. Absolutely fantastic. Very entertaining from start to finish. They kind of revamp a lot of stuff, but then switch it around at the end, so it goes wildly crazy at the end. So if you're looking and you're like, I watched the live action of this, it's not the same movie as the first movie, and very entertaining. And also, new characters are added in there, but the same premise is in it, and it's all about love. So watch it. And it's okay to watch. Well, there's a little bit of swearing in it, but it's okay to watch with the children.
It's Canadian, you said too, right?
The basis is Canada, and one of the main characters is Canada. They actually refer to Canada as a character in the movie, which is funny to me. So Michael Cera is out of Toronto, and then his love interest is out of the States, probably New York, and it just goes from there. It's just a nice wild ride.
It sounds cute.
It's very cute.
I watched Escaping the Twin Flame. That's what it's called. Escaping Twin Flame. So apparently there's this cult. This is more in the culty things. There's this guy who like wanted to make a bunch of money, and he hit it off of this cult, and it's about being twin flames. So they would be like, oh, you guys are twin flames, you guys are twin flames, we can tell. And then they would try to like start pairing people up and marrying them off. They sent this girl to live with this guy. They're like, twin flames, it's not easy. So they sent this girl to go live with this guy. When she went to go live with the guy had like some psychological problems, had a bunch of problems with the law. And the whole time they're like, don't you want to be with your twin flame? You have to do whatever it takes. So they're telling these women they have to do whatever it takes. And these guys are like filing restraining orders against them. These ladies are getting arrested because they're violating the restraining orders.
Sorry.
No, it goes way over. That's only the beginning.
Wild.
Oh, it gets more
so
wild.
The guys are like, no.
The guys are out there in the world, like not a part of the cult, obviously, but the people in the cult are telling the women that these guys are their twin flames, and like, you gotta just go for it, and you gotta this, and you gotta that. Yeah, that's in some cases, like the guy's gay, like, and so they're doing all these things to get this guy that they're certain is their twin flame. Anyway, eventually, like many organizations that kind of prey on this type of a thing, there winds up being more women than men. So they're like, okay, bet. They start pairing the women up. The women are like, I'm not a lesbian. I'm not really into this. Like and they're like, oh no, there's divine feminine and divine masculine. And they're like, you're divine masculine. You're a man. And they're like, what? And then, so some of the women are like, yeah, I guess I'm a man now. And so they're like getting top surgery, doing full transitions and stuff. So I just want to say, this is not regular in the world. Like, many people come to being trans in a lot of different ways. But in this particular, like, one of the things that one of the experts were saying was that, like, someone who is trans is like, I want to do the transition, do the surgery because they feel like it is who they are, right? These people in this cult were doing it because they were saying it's who they're supposed to be. So there was like this reaching for this thing that was like not a thing. And of course, yeah, parents are involved. They cut off the parents and all of the things. So Escaping the Twin Flame, it's about this guy who just makes this cult around twin flame, and then from there starts to do whatever the people allow him to do. in his own way, belittling them, like a lot of mind control, like psychological mind control, but it's also the type of people he was preying on. So he was going into specific Facebook groups about anxiety and depression. He was going into Facebook groups where people had fibromyalgia, people had cancer, and he was like, come, let me heal you.
Wow.
Yeah. And so they had this coaching program, you know, total multi-level marketing thing. Yeah.
Wow.
It goes crazy. So
did they say how much money he made?
I don't know. It starts with him being like, this is a Porsche.
Wow.
Excuse me. Yeah. And so not sure, but he himself is like, actually talks about making a ton of money.
Okay.
So, yeah, check it out if you're into that thing. The cults and the whatnots.
Okay.
And actually, sidebar, I don't know if anybody watched the NVX or NXVIM Nexium, that cult. Remember that one where there was a bunch of Canadian actresses in it?
Yes.
And what was that guy's name? I can't even... Ranieri was his last name. I can't even remember his name. In any case, so it turns out that a lot of the ex-cult members of that cult, they wound up working for a advertising agency. I believe it's called Movers and Shakers. Please don't quote me on this. But they started working for this advertising, or not working. They got together and made this advertising agency. And a lot of like the rhetoric is the same for the advertising agency as for the cults. Okay. And this brand, this makeup brand, which people know, called Elf Eyes Lips Face, hired them because, you know, they're good at recruiting women or what have you, to use their little culty marketing tactics to promote it. And it ended up being like one of the most successful marketing campaigns. And people who know Elf has taken off. And if you knew the Eyes Lips Face challenge, that was between this sex cult marketing agency and Elf. So Elf released a thing and was like, oops, we didn't know. You know how they do, like, oops.
That's wild.
Yeah, so these people are still out here doing the things. Yo, be careful, y'all.
Okay.
What are you listening to?
The listening has dwindled. I was listening to a lot of Victoria Monet, and then I jumped into a lot of like R&B, gospel, and neo-soul gospel albums. Kirk Franklin actually came out with a newer songs, in like a couple songs, and so based off of that, I listened to it. It sounds good. It's a little bit of a new style. Kirk Franklin, Ty Tribbett, and Maverick City have been also working with the prison community, and so they had come out with an album that they went through the prisons, singing with the men's, especially men's prisons, and they came and they did a lot of stuff there. So that I've been listening to. How about yourself?
I have been listening to the Andre 3000 flute album.
Oh, yeah.
Before I go into it, though, I want to talk about Victoria Monet real quick.
Okay.
So we have been listening to this Jaguar 2 album back and front and back and loving it up. I think both of us have. And just recently there was the BET Awards. That was like a couple weeks ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, BET told Victoria Monet that she's too new. And so they didn't allow her to like perform. She said, as an artist, you're too new. And like pretty much people don't know who you are. So that's why Victoria Monet wasn't performing at BET Awards. And this last week, she went on to get 7 Grammy nominations off of Jaguar 2. So a hearty congratulations to her.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a whole 7, including, I think, Best New Artist is in there, but...
Too new, eh? That's
weird.
Yeah,
I said too new.
I find that strange because, what's her name who married to the basketball player? She has two children. She was a dancer. She actually went on the BET Awards and did like a flash dance on the BET Awards, and they loved her so much. And she didn't even have a proper album out. They played her stuff, so it's weird.
Know.
Somebody in
that
the
they
office
would even say that.
is probably kicking themselves right now.
Maybe, but
hopefully somebody got fired.
If I was Victoria Monet or her team, it would be one box of money you would have to bring me in order to perform at your little BET blah blah blah. I hope she gets an opportunity to perform at the Grammys and just because BET. What a mess. Okay, so the Andre 3000 flute album.
The flute album, yeah.
Okay, listen. As a hip hop album, 0 out of 10. There are no bars. There are no beats. As a hip hop album, hated it. As a experimental jazz album, wonderful. Love the
Sorry,
flutes.
why did you think it was a hip hop album?
So Billboard and I think Spotify did it too. And Rolling Stone classified it as a rap album.
He literally says it's not
a rap album.
Like many times.
So actually, it was maybe Victoria Monet, but maybe Walker, that Walker girl, Scott. I don't remember her name.
Summer Walker.
Summer, that's the one. The Summer Walker and a couple of the other girls were saying that like, just because they are black and they produce this music does not necessarily mean it's rap and R&B. And the people are always putting us in categories where we don't actually necessarily belong in.
I get that.
And like some of these black girls are making pop albums, but because they're black, it's automatically R&B. Like that doesn't make any sense. So
interesting, yeah.
It's the same thing has happened with this Andre 3000 album.
Okay.
Yeah, which is very interesting. But if you use it to go to sleep, use it to relax, use it to meditate, kind of put it on if you want to calm down, is great for that. Apparently the first song is tuned to the love frequency, which I think is like 435 hertz or something like that. So it helps to heal you and heal your heart. And then each of the songs is apparently tuned to a different frequency for a different kind of healing. So
awesome.
Yeah, check it out. It's like 87 minutes or so. Some of the songs are like a good 12 to 17 minutes long. But rain sticks, cymbals. It makes me feel like I could percuss an album, Like I could just do layers of percussion and put together an album.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But it was really good. If you get a chance to listen to it, do that.
All right.
And that's it. We've come to the end of our show.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Do you have a word, Nige?
No.
You don't, for real?
It's your turn.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've always got words, girls. I will say this week is all about trusting where the wind is blowing you. I think the first track in on Andre 3000's album is I Swear I Really Wanted to Make a Rap Album, but This Is the Way the Wind Blew Me This Time. Mm-hmm. And that album had 8 million streams in the first night, like just the first night alone, when he dropped it. And nobody thought that, like, everybody thinks that Andre 3000 has like big raps somewhere tucked away, but he's been really clear about like music bringing him to this place of evolution and like being okay where it's taking him. And I think a lot of times the fights that we fight in day-to-day life, actually we're fighting this wind blowing us, because we have been taught that we have free will and we have this destiny and we can just point to the destiny and shoot it there. And that might be true to some extent, but there's also the truth that like there are things that make us passionate. There are things that we love. And those are the things that are going to support us. And those are the things that are going to make this life worth living, essentially. And sometimes you don't expect where the wind is blowing you, but you just have to allow yourself to be free and go that way.
Nice.
So that is my word. I do also want to say that I've been using Fenty Beauty. So if you guys can notice my face, you don't have to look like this. I'm Nigel. But tell me over the next coming weeks if you guys can see a difference. I can already see a difference in my face. It looks glowy on the camera. That's all I wanted to say.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you would like to promote your things, your events, your items, your businesses, definitely reach out to us and let us know. A big congratulations also to Sauce. I did not get a chance to get out there last weekend. This is their 1-year anniversary. So a super big congratulations to Heather and to Jenny, like 2 of the hardest working women I know. Absolutely huge congratulations to you guys. And that's it. That's all.
Okay, that's it. That's all.
All right, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.